Okay, I have an overframe roof and I want to calculate all of my jack rafters for the overframe, cut them all before I get on the roof. And I also don't care if they pull in even numbers from the gable. I want to start with my shortest jack at 16 inches. So I'm going to write that down. My roof slope is 29.78 degrees. And the reason I want to do this is because a lot of times if I do spend the time to calculate it, that smallest jack is so short that it wants to break when I nail it anyway. So if I just start at 16 inches and get bigger from there, then I know I'm covered. So I'm going to first, my on-center spacing is 2 foot. So I'm going to enter 24 inch as the run. 29.78 is my roof slope as the pitch. Each jack will get longer or shorter by 27 and 5/8. So I'm going to say 27 and 5/8 is my jack rafter difference. I'll show you how to check that, by the way. If I go 24 inch on center spacing, I hit store 5. Now, if I just pick an arbitrary roof, let's say 20 feet, 29.78 is my pitch. When I hit the jack button, it shows my on center spacing. 2 foot 3 and 5/8, 27 and 5/8 is my jack rafter difference. Now, if I store that, I'm just going to keep adding that. So if I start with a 16 inch jack plus recall M plus, my next one is going to be 43 and 5/8. I just keep hitting equal. 71 and 5/16, 98 and 15/16, 126 and 5/8, 154, 154, make that look like a 4 and a quarter, and 181 and 15/16. Now I already know that my longest common is 178 something, so I crossed that off the list. Okay, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 6 boards total, because out of the scrap of this guy, I'm going to get that one. When I cut this, this will give me the scrap. When I cut that, I'll get that scrap, and then I can reverse the list. And so 6 pieces total will give me 12 jacks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crown everything going the same direction. So the board crowns up this way. So I'm going to crown everything away from me. And basically I'm going to end up cutting the crowns out. These are going to be cut in half for ceiling joists for the porch. So I have 4, I need 2 more. Okay. I'm just going to put it off now. Okay, and that guy was crowned that way. Okay, so everything is crowned that way, which means I'm going to have a sharp point and a sharp point. And my saw tilts this way, so I'm going to cut this way. Okay, since my roof is the same pitch, I'm going to set the saw to about 30, just a little less. I'm going to cut sharp to sharp to sharp to sharp. What in the world does sharp to sharp to sharp to sharp mean? Okay, on the right you see California jacks or overframe jacks. Hey, that's supposed to be a freeze frame. It is the long point of the plumb cut at the ridge, and it is the long point of the seat cut and the bevel at the bottom. The bevel that you would tilt your saw to is whatever roof slope you're landing on, and then of course the seat cut and plumb cut would be whatever the slope of that gable is. So So I'm going to go through and lay all of these out. I'm going to start with 16-inch. I'm going to put a check mark. 43 and 5/8 be my second one. Check mark. $71 and 5/16. And I have 98 and 15/16. For the record, I did try to find a bigger piece of 2x12 as a notepad. 126/10. 126 and 5/8. Check mark. 154, 154 and a quarter. Now the quickest way would be to have a pattern, but I only have a few to cut. So I'm going to go to here. I have just under a 7/12. I'm going to rotate this guy. This is the seat or level cut, so it's the complement of the plumb cut. I'm going to do the same for each of these. Sometimes it's just faster just to get going. Oh, that's the wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to mark 7. Just a tick under. By doing it this way, I only have to make this cut one time. Leave the base plate loose. I just find leaving the base plate loose, it keeps the saw stable, and then I can essentially plunge in. I'm much more likely to get a straight cut without binding. Incidentally, the Jackass sawhorses there, I really like to round them over with a router. It makes it easier to push materials around. And there's a video on how to make them on my channel. Okay, now for this side, I'm just going to flip everything over, take my measurements, because I'm going to pull all numbers from the chart. So I have 16, 71 and 5/16. $95.15, $98.15, my bad. $98.15, $126.10, and $154 and a quarter. Okay. Nope, I forgot one. All right. right. And now we have opposites.
See, sharp to sharp to sharp to sharp.
This is my 2x12 sleeper valley, and I want to bevel the edge of it. How do I figure out that angle? Well, I'm going to go to build calc. I'm going to enter 29.78 as my roof pitch. This is why I like build calc. When I hit hip val, it gives me a whole list of numbers. I'm looking for my hip backing angle of 20.56 degrees. I also, since I'm here, I also want my sheathing angle, which is 49.04. So we're going to call that 49. So complementary angle, that means the other one is 41 degrees. Okay, so I take and I double this number and I subtract from 90. So I'm just going to go 20.56 times 2 minus 90. My saw setting then is about 49 degrees, 48.88 degrees. 48.88. I'm going to set my saw to 49 degrees. Okay, so I need to tilt my saw to the bevel. I'm going to go 49 degrees rounded, 48.88 is exact. Here's my bevel gauge in degrees. Think of this as a protractor. I need to go just, here's 45, one tick less than 50. I also have stops at 45, 22.5, and 53. So if you're making a lot of repetitive cuts, you could just send it. I like to just leave it off. Okay, so now I can move it freely. I'm going to go, again, there's 45. This one is 50, just a tick under. And tighten that down, and now you can see the blade is tilted. What I'm also going to do is aim for the edge of this, and so I'm going to use a guide. So here's one way to do this. Just pinch the base plate here and use your finger as a guide. Just keep it away and do most of the pulling with your left hand.
The finger check works really well for short boards. These were like 24-foot 2x12, so I just put the guide back on. Just wanted to show you how to do it if you were inclined. Do you have to rip bevels in your sleeper valleys? No. 99% of them I don't. But the last few years I started doing it and I really like it, but you do not have to do it. It is not better. I am not in any way, shape, or form saying do it because it's better. I'm just doing it because I like it.
Okay, so this is at the top. I want 49 degrees.
Incidentally, the sleeper miter angles are going to match the sheathing angle that the sleeper lands on.
Okay, and this is the sharp, so I want to go opposite on this end. And that way I don't have to flip them around up on the roof. So I'm going to go 49.
I either didn't record it or I can't find the footage, but we use a laser to locate where the ridge lands on the roof. You see the blue line. We take that measurement, and that angle right there is the seat cut of the roof that we land on. And then I want my sleepers to land underneath that, so I go ahead and I just ride the saw 1.5 inches, and now I end up with just a perfect line that matches whatever hump there could be in the roof.
Is it the same? It's like the 712?
No, so it's hip and valley backing angles. This is gonna be way too complicated. So you have plumb cut, you have the roof slope.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna pick, it's the sine of the hip the hip slope. So if I go 29.78 pitch, hip val, so 22.03. If I hit sine of that, convert tangent, 20.56. I have to double that, and it's long and complicated. So for the saw tilt, I subtract that from 90 and I got basically 49 degrees.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot.
And if they're split pitch, you take the backing angle of each roof, sum them. You take 90 minus the sum of the two backing angles.
What's split pitch?
if this was 712 and this was 912 or 1012, where they're not equal.
Because they're both.
Yeah, bastard roof.
Okay.
Which you can, yeah, in drywall too, they call it off angles or bastard angles.
Huh.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, what's the origin? Until you build one, you're like, I kind of understand.
Okay, see how all the angles go together? So those are the miter angles. Then I have the bevel angle. Then I have the seat cut that is on the LVL, and I want my LVL ridge to land right on top of these. And what was great about this floor plan is that underneath this is that rake wall that's next to the kitchen that goes all the way up that you saw in previous videos. So we are tracing this bearing point all the way down.
So the shoulders just go right with the bevel. We'll just do each one. And then I'll give you a block for underneath there, Kyle. Just take a piece of 2x12 and let's go 32 inches on the bottom and go 41 degree miters. That'd be sharp to sharp. Is work it on the angle.
40 degrees. You're fine nailing into sheathing.
Right into the rafter below. And that's our structural connection. I can go out just a little bit. And then here's my rafter.
So explaining this just a little bit further, all boards have a crown. 2x12, especially 24 footers, are going to have big crowns, right? So what we want to do is work it as we go. So a lot of times if you go top and then middle, you still have the leverage at the bottom, nail off the bottom. Now we can nail everything through to the sheathing.
Huh, this guy must be running out of gas. I go to the halfway point. You want to use the high pressure. I go to the halfway point and shoot it, and I shoot up. That still allows me to move the bottom if I need.
Okay, all right.
You're just working it.
Okay.
Missy Elliott, you're working it. Yeah.
As I'm editing, I hear Kyle say, and I just didn't hear him at the time, 40 degrees? Well, it's 41 degrees. That's why this block doesn't fit with really tight miters. I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. I mean, you might choose to recut it, but I got better things to do, like edit YouTube videos. You're a much nicer group here on YouTube, but on Instagram, people flip out when I bevel valleys. I'm not saying to bevel them. I think there's certain advantages, but again, most of the roofs I've ever framed did not have beveled. The engineer does not require it. I just like to do it. And for those of you with the eyesight of a snake, you can see that bevel's not even perfect anyway. So as Rob Schneider said, whatever. The roof is fully sheathed that we land this on, stronger in an earthquake. We've got blocking as per our engineer. The 2x12 sleepers allow for a better connection to the underlying roof and full bearing for the heels of all those all those jack rafters. And then we have collar ties that are run through there.
Okay, so I'll snap a line real quick. And then I'll tack a couple nails. So we're gonna go 10-foot one. Can I get over to here? I can. You like it? Okay.
I never start layout at the eaves because that's always a very small section. I want to stay parallel to the ridge. That's why I snapped a line at 10 foot 1. That's 2 rows of 4 foot sheets as 8 foot. And then I can cut sheets in half for the top, that's 2 foot. And that gives me a 1 inch air gap for the ridge vent. Then what I'm going to do is we'll fill in the bottom last. And then it could just be custom. It could be whatever it needs to be. But the rest of the rows stay nice and parallel to the ridge. Another advantage is that we put sheathing in the attic so that we had a safe place to work off of, and that just gives me better footing. Now this is only about a 7/12, so it's not like it's a big deal, and those keens, they grip really well on a roof, but you can imagine on a 10/12 it's kind of nicer to have a place to stand.
Let me flip it over. That way I've got the nailing line and a factory here.
But you want the factory kind of on the stud there?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me give you this number. This guy will be across the top, left to right. How about 86 3/4? 86 3/4, and then the one after that will be left to right across the bottom, 38 3/4, and that's to the short, the second one. Let me show you how to calculate the angle for your roof sheathing. This would be for a hip or a valley. So both roofs at the intersection are the same slope. Take whatever my sheet is, 48 inches, 48 inch, I'm gonna enter that as the diagonal. I'm gonna enter the slope of the roof itself as my pitch and hit run. 41 11/16, 41 11/16, 48 inches down to the corner, connect the dots. Okay, and there is my pattern. Lightweight, easy to handle up on the roof or as the Sawyer, and I have my angles for the sheathing. Now, what if you did not have a regular pitched roof? Let's say I have a 6/12 and an 8/12, and I need the sheathing angle for each side. 6/12, I'm gonna enter first as my main roof. I'll just say 1 foot run. Then I'll go 8 inch for my second roof. I'll hit 8 inch, convert hip valley, hit hip val again. Now, if I scroll down, I get a bunch of angles automatically generated for me. The 6/12 sheathing angle would be 56.15, and the 8/12 would be 42.03. So if I go 56.15 as my pitch, and I enter 48 inches as my rise, then my run, I would measure 32 3/16 back and connect the dot.
Off the old JLC forms, I learned how to calculate that using trigonometry. Once I got the BuildCalc app, I would use that to just double check myself. Now I just don't have time to do it long form, so I just do it the easy way, man. I learned it from you, Dad. Name that 1980s drug PSA. Man, that never made sense to me.
Yeah, almost always it will be the red side facing me.
There you go.
That will work.
Oh, I should explain. No H-clips
Nice.
or ply clips
That is
with
money.
zip system 1/2 inch or 5/8 sheathing.
gap it?
It's been designed, even on 2-foot centers, to be stiff enough to eschew the H-clips or ply clips. And the reason for that is so that when we tape the roof, we're not tearing stuff.
Oh, come on, Timmy. There we go. I used to do everything on the back. And it's like as soon as you make a mistake. Okay, I'll grab an 8 and then I'll give you a number.
Hey bro, remember how you started layout from that 16-inch jack on the right instead of the gable? Well, that means that you have to cut certain sheets, so don't forget to do that.
Oh, my bad. I'll have to cut this guy. Yeah, shoot. Oh well. I should have given you a number. I thought that I was still... My bad, I should have looked at that and gotten you a number. How about 48 3/4 across the bottom? And if you throw it, spin it like a Frisbee. Yeah, upside down. Yeah, for some reason, these things just will want to flip over in the air.
Okay.
But if you do it this way, I remember catching one, and I had a nice circular pattern of like little dimple blood. And I was like, well.
That's a good way to draw it. I like that.
If you are unfamiliar with zip system sheathing, that is actually an underlayment that is bonded to the panel during manufacturing. So then we tape the seams and then we're dried in. Depending on the roofing that you're using, you may or may not have to use an additional, and the slope, may or may not have to use an additional underlayment. For us over comp roofs, we don't have to use another underlayment. So once we're taped, we're ready for the roofers. And everything below can start drying out.
And then those up top will be ripped at 24.
Okay.
And so, go ahead and rip them. I'll take that guy. But if you rip them, I'll take one, and then the other one will probably be special. I'll just snag it. Should be this guy, right? 7912. So one will be an 8-footer and the second one will be 7912.
In the interest of keeping it real, you notice that we have come back off of our fly rafter, our barge board. I don't like to nail into that. That's LP 5/4 by 8. Sometimes you need to nail it right through the top with sheathing that wants to blow out. So that's why we nail into the sub barge, the sub fly, whatever you want to call it. And hey, look, we got off.
Who put that gun in my way? All right, so this guy, Brandon, will be a 2-foot rip. And across the bottom, how about 42 3/4? Let's say 30 1/4 will be the rip. Okay. Across the top to the sharp, you'll end up being 92 1/8.
92?
Yeah. And this one will actually be easy because it stays on top of the sheeting. Perfect. And then we hung it out for the fascia board once we get it. And if we have to trim it back, not a big deal. Let's see, that was the tail. I'm amazed at how many of the nails are bending. Okay, that's as far as that goes. Out of nails. Okay, one battery. Yeah, it's going to be super lame if they... Looks like they are going to start banning Chinese drones.
Oh, like you can't buy them in the United States anymore?
They're going to try to make it so cost prohibitive to start out that essentially nobody will do it.
1, go.